Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quantum Leap Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we talk about the classic series Quantum Leap, starring Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. And as you know, we're already in the fifth season, and today we're going to go over the sixth episode of the fifth season, which is called Starlight Starbright. And as always, I'm Price of Reason, and with me is this fine panel of gentlemen. First of all, we have Ro from the Sacrif Podcast. That's Ro's podcast. In addition to doing a podcast, he's also a veteran broadcast newsman. He also knows a lot about the behind the scenes of productions when it comes to the technical side. How's it going, Ro?
It's going fantastic. Good to be here. Sorry I missed last week. I was busy doing some work stuff, and time just went whoop.
It's okay. That happens sometimes. And I forgot to say you're also the founder of the Red 5 Network, which is a network of podcasters. In addition, we have the Script Doctor. He's a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. He also has his own show on Saturdays called Scripts on Saturdays. And it's him and a guest kind of going over a screenplay that at some point has either been greenlit by a studio, has been considered by a studio, or is on a list still that studios consider movies from this list. And it's something that's kind of circulating Hollywood. And with the guests, they analyze the script, they go over it. It's really, really interesting. I've been on that show a number of times, and it's always a real treat to be there. And it's probably even a bigger treat to watch it because it's something really unique. How's it going, Script?
It's going well. In fact, if memory serves, you'll be joining us this Saturday, right?
Yes. It's good that you reminded me. It is this Saturday. Yes, we're absolutely going to be there this Saturday. So,
yeah, looking forward to that, sir. Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to chat with you guys and see everyone out there in the chat participating along in the conversations we have about this show.
Yeah, and this is the fifth season where, we've said it from the first episode that we started going over here for the fifth season. It's a season of hits and misses. It's a season, though, with a lot of swings. And I do appreciate the swings. I know that sometimes the landing isn't stuck in the best way, or maybe the execution isn't great, but I do like that you could tell that he was really trying to do different things. I mean, Donald P. Belisario, the series showrunner and creator, I think that he was trying a lot of different ideas here. And if nothing else, it's sort of a fascinating season to watch because of all the swings. It's possible that not every episode of this season is going to make it to like a top 10 or top 20 or top 30 list. But I do appreciate when somebody is trying to do something different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we're getting that. It's pretty obvious, I think, to all of us, all three of us, that there was a situation where the network came up to him and said, listen, you're on the bubble. You better deliver something fantastic. It has to be like very different. You got to do a lot of cool stuff that we haven't seen before. And I feel like he felt that pressure and really tried to do different things.
Yeah, I think so as well. I also think maybe, once you hit a certain point in a show, it's not that you get tired of writing the characters. It's that nor do you get to a roadblock. It's just that there's just something so stale about it that you want to spice it up so that so that you get that energy that you had back from the previous seasons of working on the show.
Shake things up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? I've always liked the creative team behind this show. There have been people that have try different things on different shows, but to me, this isn't really like a Happy Days jumping the shark. Maybe the only thing I can say that came close to that was the Lee Harvey Oswald episodes, which were real vanity episodes that didn't need to be there. And maybe this season will have a few moments, not as bad as Lee Harvey Oswald, but a few moments that some eyebrows would be raised. But generally speaking, I don't think that the show betrayed its general concept and idea. It didn't just completely go off a cliff like so many shows do. I think that it still knew what show it was and what it was trying to do. Like I said, it just took a lot of risks this time around, and some of them paid off better than others, I guess.
Sure.
That's basically it. I mean, to quote an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, you can do everything right and still fail or still lose. And yeah, a lot of other shows have made those attempts, and everything on paper looked like it was good, but it either hit with the audiences or it didn't. And that's where the cards lie. So with Don Belisario here, I think he was trying to experiment as far as he could with the within the rules that he's already established, and even in some cases breaking some of the rules as well.
Yeah, and right before we begin, I just want to show everybody something. This was really a nice surprise, and I want to thank Ron Donofero, who's here every week. He sent me something and really made me happy today. So I'm going to show you all this thing that he sent me. He gave me his approval to show it. This is Ron Donofero wearing a Quantum Leap Revisited shirt.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, that reminds me. I got to put mine on too. There you go.
Which he ordered from our official store. Thank you very much, Ron. That's very, very nice of you. And it suits you too. It's
yeah, you're looking good.
The thing is that people are kind of choosing their own colors because it gives you that option. And I like
cool.
the color that you chose, and I like the color that we saw Nick wear. Nick, by the way, is under the weather, so we're wishing him well, that he gets better. But you both have really nice shirts, and this one really suits you, Ron. So thank you. And if anybody else has shirts and wants us to share them, we can do that as well. So thank you, Ron. And
Where are they available?
They are on the online store,
Excellent.
which I wish Nick was here. I'm sure he knows how to get there. I think when you go to a video, does it have like a shop?
It's random, but yeah, usually you'll find a shop option for some of the videos, not necessarily the live streams, but most of the videos, or at least afterwards, yeah, you'll find links to shop at here or what have you.
Ah, I see. Yeah, so let me see for a second. I'm going to try to find this link right now.
Is it TeePublic or
Spring or?
Yeah, I don't think it's any of those things. View Store, it's called Spread Shop.
Oh,
okay. All right.
And I'm going to share it right now. So I just shared it, and you're all welcome to visit it. I love that people have been buying these things, and it helps support our channel, and we always greatly appreciate it. I also like seeing some people here in the audience. I see Marla, I see Tex, I see Tracy is here, Matthew, both Matthews actually, and Storm King, and Mary White, of course. So I guess now that we've said hello to some people, and I hope I got everybody, but I was looking very quickly. If I missed people, I apologize, but I'll see you here when you put comments. I guess we can start looking at the episode.
And before that, if it would be awesome to have a shirt like that, but on the back have it say #plothole.
That's still possible. We can still make that happen.
Good. Sign me up.
Okay, so I'm gonna find the video, and I know I have to be big in it. Okay, so
Still funny after 5 seasons.
it is. So then, why is it? This is kind of something's not going well. Uh-oh.
No, it looks all right.
No, it's
Or is it like 3 seconds?
36 seconds of the open.
Something went wrong.
Yeah.
But wait,
All
maybe
right.
this is the right one. Okay, I think I got it. Here at Price of Reason Studios, only the best technological advancements
There you go.
when it comes to audio video. Okay, so will be the leap home. And then he arrives here. This is strange. I don't know if anybody noticed it. I saw it last week and I saw it this time. I can't really play it because I don't want to get any kind of copyright issues. But he says like, oh boy, and it doesn't actually move well with his mouth when he says it.
Yeah, I assume they did some looping and it was just bad.
Yeah.
It feels like very last minute looping, like they rushed him into some studio just had him say it, and they're just like, it's a long
Slap it
shot.
on there. Yeah.
It's a long shot. Nobody will notice. Maybe during those years, because of the way TVs were, they thought to themselves, it's sort of distant enough that nobody will notice. But these days, when we have the capability of really watching it in much better resolution than what was aired, then I think it's more noticeable.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
It's funny. The midsection of the open is just wall to wall Sam kissing ladies in past episodes. I just noticed that today.
Yeah, I think they used to do that, but now it seems like it's even more so.
Yeah.
They I think they wanted to really sell the idea on like action, adventure, romance. They also seem to suddenly bring him, women that are very appealing. We had Brooke Shields a few weeks ago, and this was Brooke Shields like in her, I don't want to say in her prime, but it was
pretty close.
It's not that today I don't really know what she looks like, and I'm not saying she's not in her prime today, but I would say that at the age they brought her to Beyond Quantum Leap, that was certainly at the height of her popularity.
Sure.
Is that a good way to weasel out of this, Ro?
Yeah, we'll take that. Yeah.
One way to, it works.
Okay, so in any case, it starts this thing, and then we have. So he's here. He sees like a UFO,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly, as the UFO kind of goes away, his grandson, which I kind of consider a discount Ryan Reynolds, for lack of a better description, like. I feel like if this was Ryan Reynolds, he'd start just making silly comments now. It kind of looks like a young Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, with long hair. I can see that.
I mean, it's got Bakula. No, it doesn't. He looks like Bolton Goggins a little more.
I thought he gave like a look. This feels very much like a young Ryan Reynolds. I know it's not, but
he's gonna look at the camera any time now and do a little quip.
That's what I was thinking to myself, that I wish they would have brought a young Ryan Reynolds. I don't know how old Ryan Reynolds was when this episode aired. Maybe he was too young, but a young Ryan Reynolds here would have been fantastic. This could have been a really funny episode.
It's funny.
In any case...
Mary White says she does see it. Tracy Alexander says she doesn't.
There's something about this kind of... I don't know if it's the eyes. There's something about this guy that kind of... If you put Ryan Reynolds' haircut on this guy...
And Tex Rogers has no idea who Ryan Reynolds is.
Doesn't surprise me. So in any case, Sam is playing basically an old man.
And I like the reflection too, because you don't know it's an older gentleman, and then you see.
At what point does he already learn it?
No, not yet. I think towards the end of the scene. Oh, by now he already did it. Yeah. I don't know if you want to mute it.
Yeah.
You can hear a little bit.
I've been getting more attention for these things that we watch for some reason. Here.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
So basically the idea is that he's sort of in this household considered a kooky older grandpa guy that has some kind of Alzheimer's in their opinion, or he seems to be sort of off his rocker, and he believes that he sees UFOs. Now, when Sam leaped into him, Sam saw a UFO, and we're soon going to address that, but through the eyes of Sam, we saw this UFO. He comes here, and I think here he's starting to understand that he's basically the guy that was talking there. He's his father, and he's the grandfather of the discount Ryan Reynolds guy. You're not going to be able to unsee it now that I said discount Ryan Reynolds. He forever will be discount. It's totally him. Anyhow, so I think that the grandson is sort of trying to cover up for Sam's character, whereas the father is less enthusiastic. And then they arrive here. I'm trying to think.
Oh, we got a nice little Backyard Tardis super chat.
Oh, hey, Backyard Tardis. Backyard Tardis, like I said, is under the weather, and we're wishing him well. Nick, we hope you feel better. Sorry I'm missing in this one. I'm down with pneumonia, but I just wanted to say this is a great episode, and I really enjoyed it. I actually spoke with Nick earlier today. I didn't even know he had pneumonia, and I kind of regretted calling him and bothering him. But yeah, we hope you feel better. That's the most important thing. And people here are wishing you well also. Ron Donofero and Tex Rogers.
Nick, check out Ron's shirt earlier in the stream.
Mary White, feel better, Nick. And I think that Matthew Marcillo is saying something similar. So is Tracy. Yeah, I think I'm starting to quietly sell people on the idea that this is discount Ryan Reynolds. But but basically, he's looking out the window. I think that this is the part where he says, "Didn't you see it?" And he didn't see the UFO. The grandson didn't. Only Sam saw it.
Right.
And
by the way, those window special effects are whack.
You don't like them?
No, they're pretty.
They're
pretty goofy.
They're pretty cheap.
They are. But you know what?
You can see the background like moving a little bit. I mean, it was, it's kind of goofy. Yeah.
It's the 90s. It's the early 90s. This is a network show. They did the best they could with the budget that they had.
I guess.
And as I said before, the type of resolution that the TVs had, they could get away with showing something like this, and it probably wasn't as obvious. It's really when we look at it with the kind of visuals and TVs and video screens that we have today that we're able to pick apart any little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
we've
yes,
just seen so much other quality that's been vastly superior since then that when we go back to it, it sticks out a lot more noticeably. Than
very jarring, yeah.
But sometimes it has its own charm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, product of its time, sort of thing.
I mean, you could George Lucas this thing, and you could replace some of these effects, but
yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have to replace it if you did a proper remaster. Those things would actually composite quite well.
You're probably right. I mean, they did that, I think, with the Next Generation, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
I really like what
stuff. Heck, even in the Blu-ray for season 1 and 2, you can see them use black construction paper to cover up some of the screens in the background behind Worf's tactical station. That's how good quality they were shooting on at the time for the Blu-ray release. But on old, tube television, you couldn't tell that that's what they did.
No, you couldn't tell. And I think it may not be good, but I do feel like there will be a day where it'll just fill up the screen to be widescreen. Do you get what I'm saying? Right now, Next Generation or even Quantum Leap or all those other stuff, those other things, they're still in the ratio of the 3x4, whatever it is.
4x3, 4x3.
4x3. But I think that over time, using AI, they're going to fill in the blank and just make it a 16:9.
Yeah, somebody on Instagram, and I was highly insulted, by the way. Somebody on Instagram did a couple of shots from Star Wars vertically. They used AI to fill it vertically instead of widescreen. I was highly insulted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it does raise a question of what was the real intent of the person that made this, and that person wasn't thinking that people were seeing those additional parts of the shot. So it's fascinating on one hand, but on the other hand, you're kind of transforming something that exists into something else. So it has certainly its advantages and disadvantages. Regardless, here, does the son also tell him that he wants to leave the house here or something like that? I don't remember if it's
not yet.
He's just telling him, like, I snuck out to get you, and you got to stop doing that, Grandpa.
Right.
Or Pops.
Right. Pops, yeah. And then here's another thing that I think this must have been like a window, right? They didn't actually need a mirror for this.
No, it is a mirror. He just put it on. It's a round vanity mirror for a chest of drawers.
And I feel it's just glass with pictures covered, because when he puts the picture down, it shakes a little bit, and then I have a feeling like the other actor is just on the other side of this glass.
That is exactly what I was trying to say, that it's not really a mirror in this one, but there's a guy behind the glass.
Yeah.
Could be, but the other part that's also interesting is that Sam still cheated the way Like, it's not like the same mirror trick that they did when Sam was a woman and the twin sister of the actor was playing opposite side on the mirror.
Right.
Oh, that was great.
What
That was
have
a good
you.
one. Yeah.
This one is Sam's still like cheating just enough so that you could literally have a guy right next to him do that from the angle that he's on.
You're right.
Remember,
it could be.
there's also the parting of the hair type of thing, right? So normally, like it's just kind of weird to try to explain it, but every time that Sam sees the rear reflection, it's always the reflection of what the actual person is. And there is a distortion from that reflection that the human eye doesn't always, the human eye recognizes, but we don't always process with regards to how we actually are seeing each other, because we only ever saw the reflection. Since the invention of the internet, and then of course live streaming, and you can actually have your camera not be mirrored but actually show you how you actually look, you will see your human face look a little different than what you see in a reflective mirror. And so this one here, they could have just done glass and kept it simple that way, or they could have just done the mirror and had the guy just cheat right in as they would normally, because, well, it saves them on building a prop of a transparent glass, and then building the reflection or part of a room in the background for him to stand in, because that's additional set construction.
That's true. For me, it's either or. There could also be another thing. That could be a green screen, and when he lifts it, they can just
key him in. I mean, that's what they did, for the modern one.
They had a few different options here, and I'm sure that they did the one that's the least amount of work. So here he's actually looking at his notes, and he has a lot of articles. So
look at that. That is not good newspaper for the 60s. That looks like cardstock.
Yeah. It's missing that newsprint hue.
Yeah, that off gray
text.
Type
yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another one of those situations where I think that they didn't they didn't intend people to really be able to see it the way we're seeing it now. But what it does show is that Sam's character, the one that he leapt into, has a history of actually showing interest in this. It's not like just a one-off kooky thing that he saw. And then Al shows up,
telling him, "Oh yeah, the old guy. He's thrilled to be in the waiting room. He's asking us what we eat, what we wear."
Right. And then but then like Sam is starting to be kind of like the old man. He's like, "No, you don't know. I know what I saw. Al. I know it." Like, Sam.
It's weird. I find it, like, me personally, I find it a little annoying when Sam gets like super hyper fixated on something that may or may not be what his actual mission is. Like this one, he's like really hyper fixated on proving that UFOs exist, or the possibility of proving that UFOs exist, rather than sticking to his mission. And I guess, all right, the plot is going to dictate what he's actually there for. But I don't know. I find it kind of quirky and annoying that he does that.
I mean, part of the person that he leaps into, he does have some of that person's supposedly
and I keep
energy
forgetting
or
that.
something.
Sure.
So if the guy that he was there originally before he arrived was so into all this UFO stuff, I guess it could sort of make sense that he'd be so excited that he saw it. Also, he does explain later in the episode, he's like, "I'm a scientist. This is the greatest discovery. It could be even bigger than Quantum Leap. I saw a UFO." So I can see how, as a scientist, this thing would really interest him. I think that it didn't bother me as much, personally. And then he's like, "Sam, you can't let people think you're crazy. They're going to put you in a mental asylum." Right? Something like that.
Yeah, he's going to go into the loony bin, and he said, well, I can't remember what the percentage of chance was, but he basically said you got to just stay put so that they don't put you there.
Right, and then I think that he's like, or maybe I have to show that there's UFOs. And then it's like, it's 78% that he can't go to the loony bin, and then it's 73% that he has to show that there's a UFO.
Yeah.
Right.
So Al's like, still, mine's more than yours. And I guess this is the part where he's sort of rambling on and talking to Al, but the son and his wife are watching this, and they're like, "Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
he's lost it. Look
He's
at he's
getting worse.
getting worse. His condition is getting worse." When in fact, it's just Sam talking to Al. Then he shows up, and the wife makes food, and then you have this kind of father, son, grandfather moment where this is the '60s, and the son wants to go to be a musician in the village in New York, whereas the father wants him to go to some kind of city college. And then Sam is like, well, maybe we can do both.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was trying to find some kind of compromise. And also, I think Al told him that he better appear to be a normal person and not start rambling about UFOs and stuff. And the son gets upset, and he gets angry, and he leaves. And also, Sam kind of doesn't look great here because he's sort of interfering between this guy and his son, even though he's supposed to be the grandfather. Probably it was best that he didn't interfere. And then at this point, the son is like, you could tell that he's thinking that his father is just old and confused, but Sam is really making an effort and talking to him in a way that the guy is like, starting to change his mind a bit. He's acting more like a normal person that would be his father.
Mm-hmm.
And then, trying to think, he's like, well, I used to you used to also tell me. I also used to tell you things. I don't know what. Like you caused. He's like, oh, my son causes trouble. He's like, you caused enough trouble for me, or something like that. And I guess it was good for whatever he was trying to do here. And then the guy leaves, and Al just says, "Don't go into the woods. Don't go there." And I think he promised his son that he wouldn't go into the woods, because that's what happened initially. Like at the beginning of the episode, he's in the woods near a hospital where he's like walking around. So I think at this point, first of all, Sam here is explaining to him what a big discovery this could be and why it's important. And when he stands around and talks to himself, you have these two kind of fishy government people
Mm-hmm.
who are aware of him and kind of want to learn more about what he knows. And this part is kind of interesting. I actually like the idea that at home he was considered an old kook that nobody was paying any serious attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Yet these guys from the government, they actually take what he's saying very seriously, and they want to know everything he knows. So I thought that was a nice little twist.
Well, I thought that was appropriate because from the 47 to 75, they would have psychologists and Air Force or Navy officers literally talking to every single person that claimed to see a UFO because they wanted to know if it was actually like Russian experimental aircraft trying to survey the United States.
Was that when the government was trying to do, besides Project Blue Book, which started in '53, they were also interested in remote viewing and supposedly trying to gather people that claimed that they had, certain powers or insight to be able to spy.
You're
on
talking
our enemies.
about the Men Who Stare at Goats project.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about that type of stuff. So one of the coolest stories I remember reading a few years ago about Roswell, New Mexico incident is that whatever they found, they claim it's a weather balloon. A lot of people think it's a UFO, but other people I have read discuss it said it was like an early type of drone, like a remote drone, and that's why I was able to move the way it did because it wasn't a pilot inside; it was a very sophisticated radio transmission device, and the story is that it most likely flew out of range and then just crashed, and that's why it became such a big conspiracy of sorts.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Scribelight. He sent some people over our way, so it's a Scribelight raid. So welcome, guys, and thank you for joining us. This is a great episode of, or at least an interesting episode of Quantum Leap that involves Sam seeing a UFO, for those who are into that sort of thing. And also, Nick, Backyard Tardis, gave $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I agree with Ro, but felt it was perfect that he stopped being sidetracked when he realized he needed to save grandson. Yeah, there's a part that he tells him at some point that his grandson is gonna die of OD,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that happened yet.
No, not yet.
Angela Ariega? Angela Ariega, I love Quantum Leap. Well, then you're in the right place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you
Welcome.
love Quantum Leap, then you should probably subscribe to this channel because we go over classic episodes here. So, and there's a really nice group of people hanging out here. So, yes, I agree. I think that Tex Rogers was saying that these guys are really good casting because they scream government. Yeah, they were the very effective. This guy looks like the exact slippery bureaucrat that he needs to be. And
he's just a psychologist, which makes it even worse. A psychologist with authority.
Right. And the douchey the douchey army person was also, it was pretty fun.
He's a knob.
I thought
They're both
I thought this
knobs.
was good. What'd you say?
They're both knobs. Al keeps calling them knobs.
Don't talk to these nozzles.
Yeah, that's what it was, nozzles.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So basically, they are actually taking him seriously, and they want to know what he knows. And he's like, one guy's asking the other, "Don't you think it's strange that he's talking to himself?" He's like, "Well, haven't you ever had something that you were thinking and you were rehearsing to yourself? You don't know what's going through his head. He has a history of doing this. They're explaining that he's not just based on his history with this subject. They don't consider him just a loony. They actually are very curious to hear what he knows."
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. It gives like the episode a little bit of an interesting suspense angle.
It does, but I must have misremembered a portion of this episode because I remember at some point in the Quantum Leap series, Sam is talking to himself and someone is observing him. And the one thing that he notices is that the way he talks to himself is far more convincing as if he is actually talking to another person. But it was never a family member that did it. It was like another guy, like this wily psychologist here that made that observation. But I thought it was this episode, but I guess it's not. I guess it's either one later, or maybe we already covered it and I just forgot to mention that. But I thought it was kind of interesting that we had something similar to this later on in the episode. But I liked that this is the first one of the few times where we get to see characters outside of Sam talking or discussing something about a scene, because most of the time in these episodes, Sam is in every shot.
Right. Yeah, there's something else going on. It's like a few things at the same time. I agree with you that we don't often see this, that he's doing one thing and they're sort of looking at it from their perspective. You're right. If I try to think of that there's another situation exactly like this, one doesn't really come to mind in the same way. It is something different, I'll give you that. Anyhow, they decide that they're going to go to his house and see what he knows. He arrives with his grandson, and this is the part where I think that. Oh wait, there's his grandson. He wants to be a musician, and then Sam takes the electric guitar and shows him that he can play Jimi Hendrix.
Which was slightly cringy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool that they had the reflection of the older actor doing the Jimi Hendrix too.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was
it worked well. I was just so worried that I was going to blow out the amp by getting so close to it.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where's the part where you see him old and doing it.
It should be before that.
Yeah. Right.
There it is.
I mean, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
He's selling it.
He is. And then they walk in and they again think he's a weirdo. Are they arguing again? I'm trying to think. This is
this is where he says, "Hey, you want to tell your dad about what we were talking about in the room?"
Yeah, because the strategy is that he would play at night and go to school during the day.
Right, and dad's like, "Well, when are you going to study?
When are you going to sleep?"
Yeah,
which he's not wrong about that, because I went to college with guys that were doing that. They're going to nightclubs performing. Either if it wasn't stand up, it was music or sketch or poetry, and they'd always be tired in the morning for class.
Yeah.
And now this is the part where I think Al tells him that he has a secondary mission because the grandson basically ends up ODing
Right.
because he ends up leaving and getting addicted. So it ends up that it ends his life.
I feel like this episode, Sam was just like spilling the beans all over the place about the future.
Yeah, he really. I mean, for this kid, Sam's got two obstacles now. The first one is he's got to stay out of the mental asylum. Second one is that he finds out he's got to save his grandson from ODing, and he knows that he's not in the position to keep him at home. So I guess he's just saying, like, listen, I know these names, I know these musicians, they're going to die from drugs, and I don't want that to happen to you. And I'm surprised. I mean, it is kind of contrived that it works, but it would be something to I would have maybe provided a better solution as opposed to just the a trust me bro type of
It's a complete trust me bro. I mean, the thing is that he's like, oh, listen, all these people are going to die, so now you know that you don't need to do that. And he's like, oh, what about this guy
people
from the
you've
Stones?
never heard of.
Right.
Except
I mean,
for
he heard of Brian Jones, and then he's like, well, he's going to die. And then he talks to him about Jimi Hendrix, who we never heard of. And I think Elvis he did hear of, but that's several years later with Elvis.
20 years later. Oh, 10 or 15?
10, at least 10 years, maybe 12 years later. No, 10, I'd say 10 years later.
What was it, 76 or 78?
I think 77 was Elvis.
Gosh, I can't remember. I'm getting
Let's
old.
I think it is. I think he did die in 77 because as a kid, I remember asking myself, I wonder if he saw Star Wars.
Yeah, it's 1977. You know what? I have a feeling I have nothing to base this on, but I suspect that he saw Star Wars. Probably somebody came and like screened it for him in his home.
Or no, or he saw it and then he went to the washroom and then went on the phone, took up his toilet telephone to call people about how great Star Wars was, and then sadly passed away.
That's what he was doing for sure. And then discount Ryan Reynolds listens to this whole story about the future musicians that'll pass away, and Al's like, Sam, I can't believe it, it's working. And it's like, I thought to myself, is it though? Like, I don't think that this is enough really to... He put this fire out very quickly and a bit too easily.
Yeah.
Honestly, to try to unload another mission in the middle of the mission was really kind of a bit over the top. I think that Sam has enough on his plate here that along the way to change this guy with his addiction and so quickly, not so realistic even within the logic of the show, but you know what? It's not the end of the world either. I kind of just let it slide, I guess. So this is the part he convinces him. He talks about Elvis or whatever it is. And then that's it. He's good. Now they arrive at home, and these guys from the government are here. Mm-hmm. Now, this is also a bit strange. On one hand, these guys came from the government, and they seriously wanted to have a conversation with him. They want to know what he knows. He also mentioned Operation Blue Book, and it seems like they're very eager to talk to him. And the impression that they gave his family here is that they're serious, and they're from the government and from the army and all that stuff. And that's all fine, but I'll say this, that the next day, well, I'll show that in a second. Let's first of all look at some comments and questions. Mary White says, Janice Hendricks Morrison. Yeah, that was what he said. I never really thought about the point Price is making now. Yeah, call it filler. Let me see if I missed anything else.
Real change.
Yeah, it is a real change. Is there... You guys saw... Well, people are saying Kit Kat said Elvis died in 77. Tracy said it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Elvis, the actor, is that like a Back to the Future reference? I don't know. several of the names that Sam mentioned were in this 27 club. They died at 27 years old. That would be Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, and Jimi Hendrix. They all died at 27. Mm-hmm. And at least a few of them died under strange circumstances. Jimi Hendrix, if I had to do like the most suspicious out of the three, it's probably Jimi Hendrix. That one is a very strange one because he had sort of managers and it wasn't in their best interest that he would leave them. Now, it could be a coincidence. Maybe it was. I'm here at Price of Reason. We don't make assumptions. I'm just saying that he said that he wanted to leave his management, and then quickly they found him not alive anymore. No, I'm not
that's
saying
one way to leave your management. Not a great way.
And then they benefited. So I'm not saying that this had anything to do with it. I'm just sort of looking at the timeline, and it was a strange development. But at the same time, I'm sure he did drink a lot and do a lot of recreational activities. So kind of a toss-up, maybe a 50-50 there. Jim Morrison, that's a strange one too. Again, I'm not suggesting anything, and I have no information, and all the disclaimers in the world. But basically, he had a little bit of a misadventure because he got confused. His wife had one kind of recreational activity, but he was busy doing a different type of activity, and the two activities together caused a bad chemical reaction, and that's what led to him likely leaving this world. But the thing is that after he wasn't doing well, I believe his wife probably could have called the hospital or done something. And it seems, and this is what people believe, she put him in the bathtub. And then the idea of putting him in the bathtub didn't help him, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
But it is what it is. Back to Tex Rogers. Janis Joplin was one of those. Janis Joplin, I think that whatever happened, happened. I don't see that one as suspicious. I think that there was a certain thing that she liked to do, and I guess she did too much of it. I don't know how I got to talking about this. Oh, because in the episode they talk about the addiction. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how this convinced the kid, the discount Ryan Reynolds, not to do recreational activities, but it did.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Not suspicious, just died at 27. That's true. You are correct. Elvis is the fastest car mechanic driver on the Las Vegas. Is he? Does he have a movie then? He's in Vegas? Oh, wait. Elvis is alive. I saw him in Las Vegas, and he's fast, too. I drove to the other end of the strip, and there he was again.
Yeah, he's a miracle.
That's funny.
And then Matthew Marcillo here is quoting Back to the Future. So tell me,
there's a Reagan joke here, too. Tricky Dick.
Is there?
Yeah, because again, Tricky Dick had his nickname since the 60s.
That's Nixon.
Yeah, that's Nixon. So you have Reagan, you have Nixon, you've got who's the other one that they were? Oh, gosh, I forgot. I just forgot. Sorry.
And somebody is saying they love that scene. Oh, that's strange. I forgot to silence my phone, and since it's a new phone, I don't even know how to silence it now. So you get to hear these things. Matthew McGee, Elvis didn't die, he just went home. That's all true.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, back to, I guess we can do our real change. Tex is very anti-conspiracy. I don't think anything I said was too conspiracy. I think that the only one that's sort of a strange development was more Jimi Hendrix. The thing with Jim Morrison and his wife, one has to take into consideration that his wife was also very involved in certain recreational activities, the same ones or different ones that he was, and that's probably not a good combination. Because if somebody is having a misadventure and may need help and the other person is sort of under a lot of influence, it's probably not a good recipe for, saving that guy's life. Not only that, she herself a few years later died also, under the same circumstances. So it is what it is. Men in Black, I don't know how we got to that. I saw a show that said Elvis was still alive, but he was fighting vampires. You know, I once saw a show that Bill Bixby, when he was alive, hosted, where he was trying to explore if there's a chance that Elvis is still alive. I didn't come away from that show feeling that Elvis is still alive, but people can believe whatever they believe. Some people say Tupac is also on an island somewhere, releasing albums for himself.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that he always has new stuff coming out every other year.
He does have quite a.
It's like he was
posthumous
working
catalog.
really fast in the early years.
He just used to they recorded him 24/7, and they just have so much to work with.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Prince doesn't even have that much stuff, and he's got years of things recorded in his home that he did on the fly.
I feel like Prince has a ton of stuff, but first of all, there were issues with his estate, and they were all fighting. And I don't know now why they didn't release it. Rumor had it that he had a ton of stuff that he recorded, which would make sense because Prince was a guy that could actually work the entire studio do a production from A to Z himself. He could play all the instruments, he could write and arrange it. He knew how to even record it, do the technical side. If you just locked him up like in a room with a studio, he could probably just record an album on him by himself. I believe his early albums were a few that he actually did something like that. Or sometimes it would be him and just one engineer sitting there. So once you have that kind of workflow, it would make sense that would have a ton of albums. I'd like to hear some of those actually, but that is completely off topic. I don't know how we got here, but let's go now to our real change.
Hey guys, I'm going to get off for like 2 minutes. Hopefully I'll be back, but I have a little bit of a house emergency.
So no problem.
We will see you soon.
Oh, I hope everything's okay. Oh, a lot of drama today.
Oh, well, there's stuff going on. It's a weird time as always.
It's just you and me, Script. You, me, and Tex Rogers.
It's the chat.
So they're here and they want to hear their information. And Al's like, "Don't tell them anything, Sam. I don't trust these nozzles." And then
Sam is playing along a little bit, but then also getting really excited.
Right, because it seems to show that he's not like crazy and he likes all of this.
Especially when he talks about Project Blue Book, which was active at this point and definitely jarred these two men.
Right. And then is this the part where they tell him that they just humored him?
Yes, and bring him to there's a hospital nearby. Bring him there under the idea that we're going to interview him, and then you'll be able to check him in, and then your dad problem will be solved.
This is the part, and it's too bad that Ro had to step away. This is for me a bit of a plot hole, because if I'm some guy and these guys from the government just came here to start asking a bunch of questions, and then they're like, "Don't worry, we want to help you take him to an old folks home," I wouldn't believe one word these guys are saying, and they give a fishy vibe too.
Yeah, but men in the '60s were a lot more gullible when it came to the government than to.
That's true. I guess I'll give you that.
Yeah, because it wasn't until you had the hippie movement, which
Watergate
was traditionally the liberal movement, saying don't trust the man, don't trust the government, they're abusing you, they're doing all this stuff. And then on the conservative side, you have the guy here in the suit and glasses who's like, "No, government's your friend. Government's here to protect you. Government gives you your freedoms." And it's like, nah. There's big shattered world moment in the following years of this episode when it takes place in the '60s.
Yeah, and I think that Watergate changed a lot of that, and this is pre-Watergate from what I can tell. So,
oh yeah, Watergate would be between 71 and 74, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and this is in '68. So, this is before people were asking questions, and I think that Watergate was considered a turning point. Maybe at this point he believes that they just have integrity and they want to do something right. But even with all of that, even with all the integrity in the world, why would they show up to talk to him about UFOs if they weren't taking it seriously? A guy from the army and another guy also that looks like a fishy government official shows up to ask these type of questions, and then they're just like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take him to an asylum." I understand that people were gullible, but this seems like a red flag.
Yeah.
This man is very, very gullible. Even for his day, he's more gullible than usual. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I mean, like when I was in high school, I worked at a hospital that had a continuing care wing, so a lot of senior citizens, and all I would get, especially from the ones that like came from Minnesota and North Dakota that came up to retire in Canada, they all said, yeah, when they were my age or a little bit older in the 60s, they'd be like, no, we believed all authority figures back then. It was just the way it was, because why would they lie to us? We had just fought in a world war for them. We had just fought in Korea. We believed in the American dream. So yeah, anyone claiming to be representative of that, we kind of, gave them the benefit of the doubt. And it wasn't until Vietnam, the 70s, and Watergate and everything that we all learned better. I mean, that was one of the first times I started to question authority. And I was like 15, 16 years old. I was questioning parental authority and teacher authority, but never political authority, not until that period of my life when, people in their 70s and 80s are telling you, no, you got to question it all.
Right. Well, I understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. In any case, Matthew McGee says, hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That's very much a situation. Matthew is probably watching this with his wife, Chrissy. And then Matthew Marcelo, was your son working for the government at the time, Ron? I feel like I missed some of that. I don't know what they're talking about.
That's another conversation.
I did too at one point in time. I never actually needed it, and they eventually took it away. I don't know what all these people are saying, but they're talking about Reagan. Marks for 7 says, see that snazzy major's dress blue Air Force uniform? Authoritaire.
Yeah. And look at Al. He has a hole punch in his lapel.
Wait, what does he have?
He has 2 holes in his lapel.
Oh, yeah.
It's like someone just did a giant hole punch in there for his suit.
You know what? His suits are cool.
Yeah, they are.
I like his suits.
I'm surprised we haven't seen the double tie return yet.
We haven't seen that one in a while. Yeah, I remember the double tie. He has very interesting clothes. They really made sure each time he arrives, he has something cool.
Well, there's a lot of high hopes for what fashion would be like towards the turn of the century, and sadly, it hasn't changed since 1997.
No. But in any case, at this point, I think Al tells him that he's going to end up. Does he know or does he not know?
At this point here, Sam is trying to convince Al that the research that he has conducted, especially at the library that had burned down, in the future, has created a pattern where they found out that like every 42.5 months or something, there's been an alien encounter or a claim by someone to witness that. And then from that counter, there's always another one within 3 or 4 days after that. So Sam's excited about a pattern. He's like, that's what I got to do. I got to be out there to show my son and grandson that I'm not crazy, that I saw this thing.
Right. And then once he's standing around and talking and, discount Ryan Reynolds sees it, it seems sort of, he's not happy because it seems like his grandfather is crazy. So then they arrive here. I mean, that these army people would go to this length, that they'd bring him here just so they can put him in an asylum. I don't know. I understand that he was gullible, super gullible. That's all I'll say. I think that in most families, okay, let me put it this way. In certain situations, I think people would be gullible. But in a situation like this that involves the man's father, I think that this was already a red flag. Even for a gullible man that believes like the government is here to help.
Well, it's a gullible man who's also frustrated with his father for being crazy, or at least under his perception, and then frustrated with his son for not listening to him and his advice. So this is a guy that's just trying to get rid of problems as opposed to actually face them head on.
Right. And then I guess they pull him into the room, and these 2 guys are here.
With good old sodium pentothal.
Right. I mean, I like this development. It wasn't bad. At least, like, there's some bad guys doing something bad, and it was sort of a twist, supposedly, even though we all knew it wasn't. We knew it wasn't, but...
I mean, the thing is, they're Al is very worried because that truth serum is gonna possibly compromise the quantum leap program, and maybe all of a sudden Al vanishes.
Right, and this was actually interesting that they make him talk about all this stuff, and he starts talking to him about quantum leap and the time travel and all this stuff because he has the truth serum.
Well, this is kind of interesting. So when Sam is under the truth serum, he has total recall of his memories. He doesn't have the Swiss cheese brain anymore.
Right.
Because he's saying he knows that. Well, he says, "Where are you?" He's like, "I'm in New Mexico." What year? May 1st, 1999. It's like he shouldn't know that from his Swiss cheese brain, but because that serum is kind of, I guess, it's filling in the holes, so to speak. Like he even knows his social insurance number, his social security number. He knows his passcodes. He knows the Umbra stuff, and this gets into another fascinating conflict with how Sam is leaping, because is it his body or is it his soul? Because if it's his soul, that makes sense that his body and where he's kind of quote unquote broadcasting from is still New Mexico in the year 1999. And he's inside someone else's body. But then if it's his body, then why, and he's under truth serum, he should be saying, no, I am here in New York, 1966.
Right.
So we start getting more conflict as to what part of Sam is actually leaving and appearing in all these other times.
I agree. I mean, listen, I agree with what you're saying, and one has to wonder how he, even with the sodium pentothal, how he knew all of this, but it's something that I could let slide. The part that I think bothered me more is, and before we continue, Matthew McGee's Sam starts spilling the beans on everything he does. And did he mention his great-grandfather? I did a quick rewatch, and I thought I heard him say his name. I think that he talks about his father and his mother.
His father is John Samuel Beckett. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is that, and this is one of the issues, and I wanted to ask you, and it's too bad Ro isn't here because it is maybe a plot hole, is that in the original history, how come the grandson acted differently there, but he's acting differently here? Because I can only assume that in the original history, they also took him to this asylum. But in this case, the grandson says, oh, don't you recognize that it's the car from those people from the army?
Well, it's not a plot hole because the grandson originally left a day or two earlier, because that's when he was packing and the Pop and Sam found him and said, where are you going?
Oh, okay. You know
Sam
what?
changed history by keeping him there one extra day.
You know what? I'll take it. I forgot about that. So that's why the son is here, and he can show him that these guys are from the government. And then they walk in. They kind of do a ploy, like that they make it seem like they need to open it.
And well, I mean, right now they're recording all this stuff about Project Quantum Leap, which is really throwing a wrench into these guys' curiosity about aliens and spacecraft, especially when he says it's about the project's about time travel. And then you have this clever knock on the door, says orderly here for medication, and then he says, okay, can you sign my orders? And that allows him to open up the door for both these men to be staring down the barrel of a shotgun.
Right. And then I like the scene. I like that they came to take him when they came with the shotgun. That I actually liked. But prior to all of that, he, as people were saying, he spills the beans and he tells them all this stuff about Quantum Leap. And I wonder if this kind of information didn't cause any problems. You think that it would have some kind of implication, but I guess it doesn't. They just didn't use it. I mean, what do you think happened to the information he gave them?
I think it probably got stored somewhere in the government, and it's just collecting dust because there's millions of things like that happening, not just in the United States government, but in other governments throughout the Western world.
Well, I keep that thought, because I think that next episode there's going to be some things that'll happen, and I actually think that talking about this, about something that happens next episode, I'll have a question about this that has to do with it, but I don't want to bring it up now because people haven't seen it yet, or some people haven't seen it. We'll deal with that next time. In any case, they take him, and then they go out, and they kind of walk through the woods, the forests that are next to the hospital. I'll at least give this show that they did a planting and payoff, because at the beginning of the episode, they clearly explain that these woods are between their home and the hospital. I mean, why would there be like a forest between the home and the hospital? I don't know. It is rather convenient, but
Well,
at
it's
the same
also city planning, right?
yeah, this is very interesting city planning. But the one thing I'll say is they did do the planning and payoff. So when he's here, you remember that he was in the forest next to the hospital, and it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it. It's a minimum setup and payoff. Most shows today don't even know how to do that. So
Yep.
I give him credit for doing that. And then at this point, these guys are like, come
Guys
out.
find them and they make a threat, which is that if you don't come out and surrender, we're going to put your son and grandson in a military prison of sorts.
Right. And then he's like, don't be stupid, son. And then as he's doing that, the UFO actually shows up. Sam!
Hal is shocked.
But the question is, are we supposed to understand that, like, Sam is being taken by the UFO?
Yep, it looks like that's the case. He goes missing, or not so much Sam, but the person he's leapt into goes missing, and I guess the aliens have taken him for a ride.
But we don't get any more information, right? He just leaps, and that's it.
He just leaps right before he's beamed up, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that. I thought it was interesting. I thought that was pretty cool.
I wonder if they abducted him because it was Sam's leapt into the guy as well at the same time. You know, because they're like, hey, there's something weird about this human. let's take him back with us.
Right. And whoever it is that was in the waiting room, for him, it's like a smooth transition. He's like, oh, I was with those aliens. Now I'm with these aliens. But then what happens is that Sam leaps in to Jimmy. Jimmy is a character that we met. I believe it was season 1 or 2.
I think it's season 1. No, maybe it was
Two,
it was early
two.
season 2, I think.
Right, because season 1 was like a short 9-episode season, so it had to have been like season 2. Yeah. And here we are in season 5, and he's Jimmy again.
Yeah, and he screwed up because he leapt into a moving vehicle that he happens to also be driving. So he is very disoriented and then shocked to find out that he's Jimmy again.
Right, and we remember this actor, who actually a good character actor, who was in that episode, and now he's here again. And this would be the first time that we kind of, in a future episode, revisit a character that he's already been in. We're going to see other instances of that, but this thing that's such a wide gap of time between the previous time that he was in this character and now he's in this one again, it's certainly interesting. And there's probably people that feel one way or another about next week's episode, but I think that if nothing else, you can't say that it's not an interesting one.
No, it's it starts. This is where we get into another episode that really swings for the fences.
Yes, and I do feel that this season is a lot of swinging. Mm-hmm. Like I said, sometimes the swings aren't good. Sometimes I think that there were moments that I felt that they wanted to appease the network, that maybe they appeased them in a way that wasn't good, especially involving more celebrities. There's a few here that they did this season that. The worst one is Lee Harvey Oswald. Let's just put the cards on the table. But there's a few other instances that they try different things here, and to this day, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about them. I do like the swinging for the fences, and this episode is a big swing. And certainly, I'm very happy that we finally arrived at this episode, because I've been thinking about it for years, about the day that we're going to discuss it. So we got that. And now let me just see what people are saying, how how they feel. Oh, I see Michelle Ferry is here. I love that Frank says, oh boy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tex Rogers, Jimmy was season 2, episode 8. Sam leaps into Jimmy Mata, whom he helped a couple of years earlier. However, this leap is it is a very different one. Doesn't the Quantum Leap project record what happens in the imaging chamber? I don't know. That's a good question. They should. Next week begins an episode that Donald P. Belisario absolutely hated the arc and only wrote for NBC. Yes, I feel like NBC wanted to see different things, and this is the very definition. This next episode is the very definition of that. But you know what? I've seen interviews, and I understand that he said he didn't like it or he did like it. But you know what? He's a professional. Even though he may not have liked it, I thought it was an interesting idea, which of course we're going to talk about next time. I can understand why some people may like it or some people may not like it, but I can tell you that when I was young and I watched this show when it was airing, when it was actually on, I was fascinated. You know what I'm saying? Like this. Listen, as a kid, you want things to sort of develop and be interesting and different. So I don't know. As a kid, I was able to appreciate the swinging for the fences, but there's certainly pros and cons to it. That's for sure. I guess though, back to this this episode, how did you feel about it in general, Script?
I thought it was okay. Definitely in the upper echelon of quality episodes, because you got Sam being able to do a lot of fun, but it does have that one issue of how much information Sam is revealing to his grandson about the future. Because first, to start off with, he's doing it just to kind of be supportive for his grandson, and then when we learn of his grandson's impending doom, he then doubles down with it and talks more about these musicians, these people that will most likely inspire this grandson character over the next couple of years. And yeah, I thought it was a little contrived that it would worked as a result of it. It felt like Sam needed one more extra beat in order to hammer home the reality of that situation first, before just saying, hey, yeah, believe me about these musicians, that most of which you've never heard of before, but when they debut, they're going to overdose and die a few years after they make it big. And I don't want that happening to you. That it's still a stretch, because those types of deaths, especially in the celebrity circle, were very new in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Now it's sadly commonplace, but I mean, at that point, nobody would ever expect that to be a thing, really. So it's really hard to justify that existence is gonna that thing could actually happen from a limited perspective of a kid in a upstate New York town.
I guess. I mean, the thing is that, but I agree with you. Something in addition needed to bring the point home. Maybe even to tell him, listen, I've never asked you for a favor or anything before. When somebody, and if I would have given him as much info as possible about the actual incident, or some additional information, he says, listen, there will be a moment in your life where somebody offers you this and this. This is the one thing that you have to do for me. Like he had to be really telling him that he can never do it. I don't know if it would have helped, but at least do something beyond just telling him that there's some musicians that are going to be affected, to kind of, like you said, an additional beat of sorts.
Yeah.
I don't know what story you had to tell him, but that story that he told him, for me, is not enough. But the other thing is that, keep in mind, this grandson at the end, he sees Sam going with the, spaceship. So maybe he's thinking to himself, wow, like I had a grandfather who was really on top of his game. He knew all this stuff. And then suddenly these people suddenly appear on the scene. And he's like, wow, my grandfather talked about them and he was playing Jimi Hendrix. Like, he can start thinking about all the strange things his grandfather did, and look at him as sort of this kind of outer world being of sorts. And maybe once he starts thinking about what his grandfather told him, maybe it does have some kind of influence. It's a bit of a stretch. I feel like it probably could have been executed better. And it's very quick, too. The speed in which he changes history is sort of unprecedented. But at the same time, it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And then Angela Ariega says, yeah, but this is before or after he tried that with his sister and failed. Yeah, with Imagine, he tried to convince her, but then she did do it. She didn't do it. I don't remember.
Well, I think she ended up not dating the guy that would be her first husband. So she didn't get in bed. She didn't get married to him.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember. Did he actually change? Because I remember that he was trying to change it, but he didn't manage to change it, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, he changed some parts of history. I mean, his brother. I mean,
his brother for sure.
He changed the history for all his classmates, so we know that. And then I think he changed history for his sister.
Tex Roger says Chuck was Katie's first husband, but I don't. Here, Tex says it's not clear if he actually changed it or not. I remember that he was trying to tell her, but then she started crying because he used that element.
She cried after the song for John Lennon because she didn't believe that he was going to die.
Right, and then he's like, "If he dies, then you're going to die." Or that if John Lennon dies, it means that he's right, and the brother is going to die in Vietnam or something like that.
Yeah,
there was something going on, but I never really got if he changed that or not. Matthew Marcillo says, I think I read on Wikipedia Sam did end up waiting, and then a better man and moved to Hawaii. I'm not sure. I meant Sam's. Oh, okay. Basically, I think Matthew Marcillo is saying that he did manage to help his sister. Yeah, if he was right, Tom was going to die. They didn't address whether she married Chuck or not. I feel like it's one of those things that they left up in the air. Tracy Alexander, wasn't there another Quantum Leap episode with a UFO? I see the plot in my head with some town folks, but can't place it. Maybe I'm thinking of another show. I don't think there was another UFO episode.
I can't remember.
Can't seem to think of one. But I am very excited that we're already in season 5, and this was episode 6. Next week will be episode 7. It's hard to believe we started this from the first episode of the first season, and we're already 5 seasons in. And it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been really what? We're in the we're halfway into our second year of doing the show, and we're almost done the series.
Yeah, I love that we did this. It's the consistency we we stuck with it. It's not easy to kind of do this every week, but also we're not doing it alone. It's just that there's a good group of people hanging out with us and that we're kind of analyzing this every week with everybody together. It's just a really fun event.
No, it is. And I mean, it's a great show to talk about. Lots of interesting periods of history to see, interesting characters to see their lives. And every once in a while, a very what the heck was that moment that doesn't really anger you, but just maybe has you scratch your head or go into some interesting new discussions.
Absolutely. And Marla Sharondoff says there's no other episode involving UFOs. And Tex Rogers enjoys Thursday night. I appreciate that. I know that early on, Tex sometimes questioned some of our decisions, but over time, I think we grew on him. And Kit Kat, always a great discussion. I don't know what episode that is. Michelle Ferry, I hope things are okay with Roy. Would have liked to have heard his thoughts on this episode. I hope so too, but hopefully everything's okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I assume that he's dealing with it, and obviously we hope that everything's okay. And then I'm trying to see if there was anything. Chrissy and me look forward to spending time with you fine people every week. This has been another fun stream. Thanks, Bryce. Thank you, guys. And then Ron Donofero was saying we are such an awesome group. Make the videos, Brum. Yes, we do that. So I guess this would be a good time to sort of go over the people that were here and say goodbye to everybody. There's certainly a lot of people to say goodbye to, so I'll do that now. Just trying to scroll. We got Mary White, Tex Rogers, Marla Sharondoff, Mur Rockstra, Matthew McGee, Matthew Marcillo, Ron Donofero. Let's see. Kit Kat. We got Ro, who I hope is okay. And then we have... I did say Mary White, I believe. I like Mary White. Tracy Alexander, good seeing you here too. I think that Lisa Katrine is going to be listening to the replay along with Super Mario Brothers 3. Lisa is training for a triathlon or something with a bicycle. What do I know? I hope your training is going well, Lisa. And then each time I say that she's training for something, training for something else, it involves a bicycle. That's what I think is going on. Lisa is riding a bicycle. Anyhow, Michelle Ferry, good to see you here as well. Storm King, Marokstra. We also got some cool people coming in from Scribe Light Show, and Scribe stopped here as well. He's a friend of the channel. He was here recently even on an episode of Quantum Leap Revisited, which was nice. And then I'm trying to see. Nick, of course. I hope you feel better, Nick. Came down with a case of pneumonia. Rob Nutskubla also wishes him well. He's also sick, but it's coming to an end. That's good to hear. Yeah, Rob Nut was rather quiet today. But I'm happy that you stopped by, even though you were under the weather. Marks for 7. Peeping out of the Tardis, along with R2-D2, I guess. I've never seen R2-D2 inside a TARDIS. There's Keeverdam, Raid. Hey, Ro. I'll get to you in a second. Adabisi Scribe rating. Too sweet. Too sweet. I'm not sure what that means. Scribbles raid.
It means right now.
It does?
Yep, too sweet. Right now.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that term before.
It's French.
Ah. Interesting. I know a little French, and I still didn't know that. K. Roberts. JPS. And Angela Arriega. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Probably pronouncing it wrong, but I did try my best. And I think that I've gone through Storm King Caleb Levine. I think I've gone through everybody. Hopefully, if I missed somebody, I'm sorry. Ro, now that you're back, first of all, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, we had a little plumbing issue upstairs.
Oh. Well, hopefully this your return means that you were able to get it under control.
Yeah, for the most part, 98%. We still have to have somebody come and look at it, but
98% is good. I assume you shut off the water?
crisis averted.
Did you shut down the water? What did you do?
No, it was the drain pan on one of our AC units.
Ah.
For some reason, it was overflowing, and there was a danger of ruining some stuff.
So carpets or floor or whatever it is, flooring. Yeah. So hopefully you just turned it off.
Yeah, we drained it.
Drained it? Okay.
Drained it manually.
So I guess we talked about our thoughts about this episode, and you can help us just on our way out. You could tell us how you felt about this episode.
Yeah, I liked the episode. It was interesting, and what you said earlier in the show, I like when they take some chances, they swing for the fences. This was one of the episodes that did that for me, and I feel like not everything landed for me. I had an issue with some of the things in the episode. I kind of talked about it in the early part of the episode, but one of the things that I wanted to see a little bit more of, what happens to Sam after the UFO lights. I wanted to see a little bit more of that storyline. But I liked again, I think next week is going to be another one of those swing for the fences and see where they lead. You guys have obviously seen it. I have not, but
It's a swing. It's a swing.
Yeah.
Next one. It's a swing for the
Yeah.
fences for sure.
So yeah, definitely. I was talking to Script before we actually started, and I thought this was one of those. Remember in the early seasons that they had to kind of repeat episodes to catch up for the season. I thought this was another one of those repeats, but he looked at himself in the mirror and he says, "Oh, I'm Jimmy. I'm back. I'm back." So I thought, well, he's come back to this life for some reason, and yeah, looking forward to that one too. But I liked this. I had some issues with it, but nothing too major. They're all kind of nitpicky. I wanted to see a little more of, what happens to him after, he goes into the light, per se. Really interested in the. To me, I think the army guys were not as fleshed out as I would like them to have been. I was more interested in that, getting into the whole Project Blue Book and that sort of thing for me. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. It was really good.
I was also saying that I thought my issue, and I was going to tell you that it's a plot hole, that I feel like the father was a bit gullible, even though Script was correct in saying that during those years people trusted the government and the army more. Still, that guy on one hand wanting to speak to his father, then seemingly helping him take him to the asylum, the whole thing just seemed. I understand that maybe the son already wanted to get rid of that father anyways, and maybe there were other things going on there. But I will say that I think that I would have an instinct that those guys were fishy. The fact that they showed up to help him put him in the asylum, why would some army guy and some other guy that some bureaucrat would even take time out of their day to help the father? Why would they come speak to him and then they want to take him to this asylum? For me, it would be a red flag, even in the most gullible of times. But it's okay. I mean, I guess the son was gullible, so I'll accept that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I guess on that positive note, let me first of all I want to share your links. You guys can talk a few more seconds. I just want to share the links here. First of all, I'm going to find your channel.
I know you probably said it already, but what was Script's verdict on this episode?
Oh, I thought it was all right. Upper echelon, but not in like a top 20, but definitely better than most.
Maybe like top 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now I put the link to Rose Podcast.
Thank you.
On YouTube. You should definitely. You can hear it anywhere. It's on Amazon and Apple and all that stuff. But the YouTube channel, I'm sharing it here because if you're not subscribed already, you should do it. And then I'm going to find the Script Doctor one. Script Doctor. And Script Doctor, as he said, this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be a guest on his channel.
That's right.
So you guys should check that out. You should, if you're not already following him, subscribe to him. You should definitely do that. And then, obviously, when I'm there on Saturday, it would be cool if you guys were there as well. So make note of that. Hope you guys subscribe to him. And yeah, I guess if you guys are good, I think, is there anything specific that you wanted to say before we go? Anything to plug, Ro?
No, we usually drop our audio episodes on Thursdays. I got a guest on to talk about Star Wars fan films and parodies. We talked about Hardware Wars. I think it's the grandfather of them all. Troops, George Lucas in Love. So we had fun discussing fan films like that. And yeah, just check it out wherever you find your other favorite podcasts.
Cool. Did I actually share the link to the store, or did I?
Yes,
was it something else? I did.
Yeah,
was
that
it the
was
real
early
one?
on.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So, I guess on that positive note. Oh yeah, the store. That's why. Let me try to share it again. if Mary already brought it up.
Yeah, it was like way early in the show.
Way early. So here you go.
97 shows, 48 and above are above average, 49 are down or below. What's this like half? Tex Rogers is 50-50 almost. Pretty close.
It is. And I guess now would be a good time to play our outro and be on our way. So it was great hanging out with everybody. Thank you to the panel guests here, to Ro and to Script. And we'll see you all here next week for a really, really interesting episode. So
looking forward
I'm looking forward to that. Bye.
Nice.
I'm such an awesome guy.